From one semi-final to the other in the bottom left-hand side of ESL Open Cup number 108. Semi-final 2. Our red Zerg player from Clash is Reynor. Taking on the blue Terran in the top right-hand side from Mousesports, it is HeroMarine. Winner of this plays Clem in today's finals. Gonna steal the indie camera for the series. He does a better job at observing than I do, plain and simple. And so I will let him, I will follow his camera and let him do the beautiful job of observing instead of trying to do it myself. Probably a better way to go about things. So is obviously some TVZ action here. When was the last time these two played? I know Reynor looked pretty good the other day when it came to playing in the Fujimi Championship. He took down Spirit pretty convincingly. Just trying to think when Reynor and HeroMarine last played. It was in the ESL Last Chance group stage, of course. That was the day, yeah, of course, where HeroMarine freaking popped off and honestly very nearly had Reynor. Reynor beat him on the rematch to make it to the playoffs. And it really felt like HeroMarine should have been in those playoffs. He played insane. He beat Reynor in the winners match. He narrowly beat Maru. Maru had a miraculous comeback. And then in the decided match, he just lost out to Reynor in a very, very close series. So, yeah, definitely a matchup which had a lot of epicness the last time they played. We'll see if they can bring anything close to a similar level when it comes to playing in the Open Cup. Obviously, you're playing an online cup now compared to, I mean, Last Chance online, but obviously a bit of a bigger tournament. Probably has a bit of a different feel to it. We'll see how it plans out for these two. We'll see what they both kind of trend towards, and I hope for Epic Games. I mean, if the games are even just half as good as they were in that previous tournament, in the Last Chance, we're in for a treat, guys. I can promise you that much right away. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to this. Kind of happy we got to catch both semi-finals. Doesn't happen a lot that one side of the bracket is so much faster than the other that one semi is done and we can dive straight into the other. We'll just take this as a chance to say a couple of sellout things as the replay will dance with the Lings here. Let's just make sure he doesn't get the drone. Nelly. Good from Reynor to save that in the end. But just very quickly, obviously, if this does end up on YouTube, if this does turn out to be a fun series, which it very well might, then please do consider hitting the subscribe and like buttons. It helps others to find these videos and to enjoy the StarCraft 2, which is always awesome. And of course, if you're out on Twitch, then do consider following the channel to see when we're live with more StarCraft action here on the channel, as well as you can subscribe to obviously support the content further. So do check that out. Always appreciated, and like I say, we're on the road back to 1,000 subs. Hopefully we can hit 1,000 with the TLMC event this week. Of course, new potential ladder maps on the stream this week, as the Team Liquid map contest enters the tournament phase, which we will be running Wednesday through Tuesday. So 7 full days of StarCraft action. If you didn't see the lineup for that just yet, well, we're talking Clem, we're talking Clem, we're talking Zest, Bjorn, Solar. There's a pretty good, yeah, that's just a handful of the players. You guys want the full list? Go on then. Very quickly, as this replay will go down, Link Speed is going to get the kill. Max Paxu, Thermal, Classic, Skillless, Armani, Ryung, Gumiho, Nightmare, Spirit, Laser, Mana, DNS, Prince. I mean, the list goes on. There's a few others that are still pending invites, but yeah, the list is extensive. 20 players playing on potentially new ladder maps. Obviously, the TLMC is where new ladder maps come from. So make sure you tune into that all this week on Twitch. Of course, the best of the games will go up on the YouTube channel. I'm sure it'll be brand, capital letters. New ladder maps suck! Bracket, question mark, exclamation mark. I'll take a screenshot of my face looking horrified. Oh my god, we're gonna have to play on these for the next 7 years. It's gonna be some beautiful clickbait, I promise you that much. So, Stimpack on the way, Hellion count just building up here from HeroMarine as he plays a 3cc opening. Pretty conservative stim. The Liberator and the Hellion combination is a pretty popular one. This is kind of the build that Clem likes to do most of the time. Like, this is Clem's bread and butter. Now, Clem has a lot of variety in his builds, as does HeroMarine, but yeah, this is one of the Clem's favorite, I think. The Liberator can do a lot. He always feels it can do a lot and get into good positions, etc. And, yeah, just use the Hellions for that map control as well. Let's see what the Liberator does here from HeroMarine. One of the things, of course, Katowice coming up. Reynor, the reigning Katowice champion, trying to get back into shape for that. One of the things that was so good about Reynor's ZvT this time last year was his immaculate early game. You know, he would go early, he would go like an entire best of 5, and you could probably count on one hand the number of drones lost in the first 5-6 minutes, And that's really impressive, as here he's actually straight up losing queens to these Hellions, so that ain't good. He does kill the Liberate at least. But yeah, his early game was just so good, and that really carried him in a lot of those previous series that we saw in Katowice last year. It really was a big strength of his, so yeah, kind of a cool little something. And really hoping he can get back onto that sort of level, because if he can bring that level of TVZ, then sign me the hell up. It was crazy to watch that sort of stuff play out against Maru and everyone, and of course with Katowice being offline, for the first time in forever, we can go back to arguing about, jet lag instead of ping. Everyone's going to be on the same ping, and I have no idea what that's going to mean for a bunch of these players. Getting to watch Clem TVZ against Koreans without having to have ping, and Maru TVZ, and obviously Reynor ZvT. Like, it's Katowice is going to be freaking amazing, guys. Let's just leave it at that, as 1-1 upgrades do come up on either side of the map. So both players heading into 1-1 at the moment. As we've got the armory coming up pretty nicely timed as well. Oh, he's coming in. Creep spread taking some damage. He's just going back up to the top, and just going to be seeing a couple of extra banelings finishing up. They're going to run out over this far left-hand side, so away they go. Marines are just lifting back up into the Medivacs, and with the Hellions that were still alive, going to morph those into Hellbats. That's going to create a bit of a pretty sizable push here. The Marine going to start pushing through. Queens transfusing each other. Now the upgrades have finished, but banelings do not have their speed, and the first few do not really do much. Doing out a few of the Hellbats, but the Marines surviving at least. HeroMarine doesn't mind this, because if he keeps the Marines alive and reduces the baneling count, he's going to be able to do even better for himself in the upcoming fights. So keep your eyes out for that. Expect this to be pretty exciting in the coming moments. These Medivacs lifting up and then pulling back away off to the sides. I'm just going to be seeing these few Marines unloading once again. A couple Queens being chased down. And the banelings rolling up from the bottom side here, connected in for a couple of Marines. The Medivacs are going to go down to the Spores as well, though. And wow, Reynor's going to get a lot of these units now. I mean, everything on that left side getting cleaned up. Keeping drops like that alive is one of the keys to success in this matchup, because if you keep drops like that alive, you're just able to keep on running around the map, and you're really able to just keep on being active. When you lose drops like that, you really give the Zerg breathing room. You've got to kind of cut back on one of your armies elsewhere, and now you lose this group of Marines. My goodness, this has gone from looking pretty darn good for HeroMarine to Reynor just getting a couple cleanups on the left and the right and really bringing himself back into it. Hydra's now up, so his army's going to be better than ever. And he just needs to spend a little bit of his money, which he is starting to do. A few lings running through this army for free, so a little bit of a bounce back there from HeroMarine. Let's see what these Widow Mines do. Not a lot so far. The splits were very good from Reynor. Some of them splashing onto the Medivacs. Good cleanup. And Reynor will defend on the right side of Hardwire here. Just a couple mistakes from HeroMarine not keeping up with the armies. I mean, on the left side, I think it happens, right? You get your Medivacs in a bad position. Suddenly the double spores on the exit get the kills. That's rough. But on the right side, losing that group of Marines to banelings, that's the kind of thing which is just... You need to be better than that, you know? You need to be able to not let that happen when you're playing against players that are as good as Reynor. You know, we're talking about the top of Europe, you know, at times top of the world, absolutely. You just can't be leaving 16 Marines to get rolled into by 3 or 4 Banes. It just... You don't win games like that. Now, Reynor is supply blocked here, and HeroMarine is still having... You know, a few things going his way, right? I mean, the supply block is nice. He's still got more drops setting up. He's got the Widow Mines out on that left side, readying to go. Time is ticking, though. The Hive and the Lurker Den are both on the way in. And the moment that those two structures come online, okay, maybe not that exact moment, but when they come online, we really do start a countdown to Lurkers being on the map with their upgrades. And once that happens, life is so much more difficult for the Terran players. So HeroMarine has to be somewhat cautious of that, as this fight, an interesting one, because the Hydras on the right side ended up exposed. So they ended up taking a lot more damage than initially expected. But now we do actually swarm and jump on the rest of this, forcing the lift up. And that's going to be pushed away. Now you've got a drop in the bottom right, forcing a cancel at least. HeroMarine continuing to be fairly active around the map, and that definitely helping. Medivacs just escaping off to the side, and they will get out of there. WardiTV blows up another drone. Hatchery drops into the bottom right once again. Reynor just looking to get that expansion up, and he is going to take down a set of rocks in the center. The less rocks, the more open pathways he has, the more counterattack potential he has, and the more surround potential he has. Comes up over here. This WardiTV shot, again, not really going to do too much, as the Medivacs pull back in the middle and will unload there as well. HeroMarine on his way to Ghosts, extra command centers, playing into that later game. One thing we've not really seen a lot from Reynor, and maybe because he has just been under a good amount of pressure throughout pretty much from HeroMarine. You know, HeroMarine has been putting himself in some good positions, and Reynor has been having to kind of pull himself back into it a little bit at times. But one thing I will say that's really, as these Banes continue to crash into those Marines, by the way, geez. But yes, the one thing that's really going to be potent is that there's not been any counterattacks. No Ling Bane into mineral lines or anything, and that's kind of allowed HeroMarine to keep focusing on the attacks and not have to worry about kind of turning back home and defending. But now, the moment that Reynor does get one opportunity across the map, it's going to become a big one. He is going to be into the mineral line on the top side. He nearly got rid of a bunch of those ghosts there, just didn't quite fling enough Bane lanes into their faces. Wow, this was actually much better than I thought it was going to be for HeroMarine. I thought he was about to lose the entire third mineral line, or the top side mineral line. Turns out he only loses 2 SCVs. The ghosts survive as well while soaking some Banelings. I mean, that's best case scenario. Banelings go off, but they don't kill anything, and then those units can just get healed back up. That's a complete waste of resources from the Zerg players, so it really is kind of best case scenario here. Extra Banes morphing in, the Ling Hydra setting up on the left, and just going to be seeing the bio army of HeroMarine starting to move through the center. That WardiTV might get a connection. Good split from Reynor. So difficult to do that as, oh no, well, maybe I cursed a bit, but my group of Lings went down big time. It's difficult to do that, right? Spot the right Ling, split it away, because you got to make sure it's not going to start running the same direction as other Lings run. You got to make sure you click on it. It's got to happen so quickly as well from the moment you spot that it's going to be an issue, so all units here will hold out, and we'll push the Lingbane Hydra army away again, back down to the bottom side of the map, and away that goes. Fire Force still going back into the middle, and just going to be seeing the Hydras will, with a couple of Banes, set up to try and fight. There's Ling Bane Hydra on the left-hand side as well, going to start running through here. The Banelings coming in, and a couple of these Ghosts taking a lot of damage. Those Ghosts are soaking up Banes with kind of, you know, on their own though, right? Like single Ghosts are tanking Banelings, and if Ghosts go down for singular Banes one at a time into them, that's fine. I mean, it's not like, I say singular Banes, but I mean like, the only thing that dies from those Banelings rolling in is the Ghost, and it's multiple Banes that go into the Ghost to kill it. Then it's very, very effective trades actually for HeroMarine. And he does come back into a supply lead on the back end of this. He will kill off the hatchery off to the right-hand side. The Bioforce, the Ghosts, and the WardiTV all setting up back to the top, and he has pushed himself toward a 5th base during this as well. Reynor entering the later and later stages of the game. Lurkers are out, the double Nidus network is producing. All of these Ghosts out across the center, and just going to be seeing the Medivacs making their way around the middle of the map as well. Still an army in the bottom right-hand side, just going to be pressing up to the top. Bioforce coming through is going to be forward. I mean, Reynor is now on 2 different sides of the map as he goes for this next attack, but he's got to be careful. Attacking into Ghosts ain't going to be easy. Definitely one thing to be cautious of at the moment, in fact. Double Nidus into the main. I think that's where those Medivacs are going to try and clean that up, but that's a lot of supplies sent to clean this up. When the Lurkers are actually at the front here, I don't even know what's in the Nidus networks. Well, yeah, I feel like the Nidus themselves aren't actually the issue, it's everything else. And with so much of your supply in the main, well, the Lurkers strike on the right side, there goes this base. Now the Nidus is coming up in the natural, so they're going to try and keep those units busy. It's worth the cost. And it's just a massive overcommitment because HeroMarine was worried that he was late to defending them. He was genuinely afraid there was a lot of units that were going to pop out, right? And if he's not wrong, if there were like 12 lurkers popping out there and his main gets sieged, he's in a crap ton of trouble. But because the lurkers were all at the front, he didn't need to drop everything into that main base. A couple of marauders would have been fine. And then, of course, you've got so much in the main, you don't have everything everywhere else. Only 9 SCVs going down, but that base on the right did get pretty much dismantled. And that means that Reynor just gained some ground in general. He will lose the double Nidus again, this time back up into the main. Oh, nice from Reynor, who's able to really leverage that into something a little bit extra than it was maybe initially meant to be. So credit to him on that one. We do have the Ghosts with the Bioforce joining back up into the center. Another Nidus in the main base that's taking some damage. Lings and Lurkers out on the bottom right-hand side going to be coming through. Lings come in for a Wooden Mine kill. Another Nidus dropping into the back. These Lurkers are going to burrow up. SCV is going to take some pretty big shots, and a lot of SCVs go down, plus the Planetary. I mean, there's other bases here that can replace, but not a Planetary, or not even a CEC that can morph into a Planetary, so it does mean that just Ling Run-bys on that top side base might be problematic for the little, for the next little bit of time. I mean, this is what I was talking about when I'm talking about Reynor counter-attacking in. Now SCVs are dying to lurk because they were stacked oversaturated on these two mineral patches as their base was just starting to mine out, and that meant a lot of kills quickly. And now Reynor really is just kind of running away with this. HeroMarine does have one chance, and that is the fact that his army supply as it stands is 143, because he only has 33 SCVs. Well, if he can take one big fight and Reynor does continue to just throw units at his opponent and not actually ever clean up this army, then Reynor will be in trouble. He's down to 76 army supply. He needs a massive turnaround on the army. I don't know how he's going to get it. He's down 50, 60 supply in army. It's going to be really tough. New lurkers morphing in. They're going to get caught. That's 3 of the 5 lurkers morphing, having to cancel already. There's another one off the right side that could be sniped. Ling Bane initially going to come through. We're looking for those ghosts while they're stacked, but the split is decent. A cluster of ghosts on the left side go down. Still a 50 army supply lead. He gets snipes off on the lurker before it can even burrow. Now the Ling Bane comes through. Starting to get a catch here. And the lurkers are going to try and run in with this, obviously on creep, because HeroMarine is that desperate he has no option but to run in on creep. His army supply is getting lower. Will it be enough? In the end, the ghost count is continuing to drop. Reynor spamming out units as fast as he can. Still down 30 army supply. Only 19 SCVs left in the game. I just don't know if he's quite going to have enough to close the game out on the back of this, right? Is it just enough? These Banes getting caught. I mean, that's massive. Anytime you're canceling the setup from Reynor that's meant to protect him here, is going to be big. The problem is, I think, even if you lose 2 or 3 bases as Reynor, you're still in this game. Because you will have, if you can keep a good amount of your drones alive, you're still going to have a significant army. Because you've got a significant economy. So, I think Reynor is just always going to get closer and closer because he's just got that much of a worker lead and that much of a base lead that even though HeroMarine is terrifying here and it might take Reynor a lot of attempts, he has the real estate that HeroMarine has to work his way through to have a lot of goes and to have a lot of attempts at this. And now it's only 2 ghosts, right? So the couple lurkers that are coming out are going to be more and more effective than they were before. And there's 2 lurkers on the left, 2 on the right, 5 more about to finish morphing. Now the army supplies have evened up. Now it is going to come down to probably Reynor's game. And, obviously he will be able to max out pretty much soon, pretty much in the near future here against the HeroMarine's force. That just will not be scary. Reynor will press forward and will try and protect this space. He forces HeroMarine into the medevacs, which lift up and back away. And it does look as though Reynor is going to grab the first map of this best of 5 semi-final. The few Banes rolling in. HeroMarine played a hell of a game, and this is in part maybe the fact that it's hardwire. Long map, difficult to take momentum against the Zerg and turn it into something on, so as you do see the Lings coming through, a few SCVs being chased out of there. And just going to be seeing our orbital commands dropping back into the center of the map. Lurkers burrowing up and going to cause some chaos once more here as Bioforce continues through in big numbers. Just too many lurkers shredding through everything there. And that's going to be GG's. Reynor will take the first map of this best of 5. In the bottom right-hand corner of the map, taking that 1-0 lead just about on hardwire. Our red Zerg player from Clash is Reynor. Taking on the blue Terran top left from Sports, it is HeroMarine, Big Gabe himself. Looking to try and put a W on the top of one of these ESL Open Cups again. Second place 2 weeks ago, and now in the round of 4 last week. Last one in number 104 against Max Pax in the finals. There's only won one since edition number 100. There's only won one throughout the course of this year so far, which is basically in the last 4. So he won the first one of the year. That was, again, so far about it. Well, initial barracks and so on is normal, but the pool is going to be early from Reynor. So, pool first instead of hatch gas pool. I mean, one of those differences which you kind of look in and say, well, yeah, I mean, people do this, right? Like, it's not rocket science. It's just good in case he goes 2 racks. It can be good for the size of the map as well and lead into some aggressive builds, and that's exactly what this one is going to do. So it's going to lead you into that roach roaring. That's already on the way up here, so yeah, getting that up and running. I'm just going to be seeing our Reaper coming across as well. Well, a couple Lings will go after this SCV. He really doesn't want to let this SCV into the base to scout. If the SCV gets into scout, that would be very problematic, and that's something which you just want to keep away from, because you want to basically hide the info of this being a roach roaring. If I'm HeroMarine now and I see the attempt to basically deny me gaining information here, I think he should probably go and probably go ahead and build a bunker, because it's just so likely, it's so possible that this is going to be roaches. Well, the Reaper just comes straight across the map because the Lings obviously aren't going across. He saw with the SCV that the Lings stayed back to kill the SCV. So now the Reaper gets to come across the map, which is really nice because it's not chasing after the Lings on the elsewhere, which means he will get a scout on these roaches when they start to move out, and then he can begin to set himself up effectively into the exact setup that he needs. So that kind of becomes the plan. Ravager will start to morph into the center. Just going to see the Roach Ravager continue across. First bunker is going to be done soon. I don't think this is really going to turn into anything of an issue. I think this is going to be pretty reasonable defense for HeroMarine. I mean, you know, that said, he does actually, he will have to give up the natural, which is, it's not a comfortable feeling, right? It's like, yeah, you can do this, but it's not like you want to give the natural up and, you know, let them kind of take over here. So, you know, the Ravagers will obviously ping their way through some depots, and this is why, you know, this build is kind of fine for Reynor, because even when it's not going to do, like, a crazy amount of damage, unless it's somehow been very hard counted, you're still guaranteed a couple of depots and so on. In that situation, you're still in a good enough position on the back of this as you drone out of it. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a pressure build. Is cool to mix in. Short map, hits quickly, potential to throw your opponent off a little bit, and also just has a very solid follow-up. It's not, like I say, completely all in like some of the Roach rushes early game can be, because you do really start looking to the future very quickly after initial setup. And it hits so early, you're almost guaranteed to do something here, such as, well, in this case, deny the CC for a significant amount of time. It really has been a significant amount of time at the moment. Spell trying to land, Cyclone dodges away from that. That's going to be seeing the 2 Roaches and the 2 Ravagers picking their way through that orbital in the Cyclone. And there again, the Reaper coming across is just going to be picking its way through a drone, but will not do too much. Marines will take the attempt of a cancelled 3rd hatchery here, and that is huge. Denying the 3rd base is really a big deal, because obviously, you know, now you're very slowed down in terms of Reynor on his follow-up, and it was, you know, coming along to being done as well, so it was not like it was just placed down, quick cancel. No, he put a lot of damage into that to get the cancel, which means it had been building for quite some time. Yeah, this is getting worse for Reynor for sure, so big play from HeroMarine. Now going into the Banshee and the Cloak, and I like that a lot because it just guarantees that if this does turn into any further Roach Ravager production, you have a pretty solid answer to it for most places on the map. I mean, unless you're kind of, attacking across the map, in which case, well, then you're deciding to be aggressive anyway. It's not like you're going to have much anti-air here as Reynor is. He was looking to slip through there. He's going to be dissuaded from continuing in, though. And I actually think he could have maybe done well with all these lings getting through. But, of course, there's a tank in the background. He just doesn't know exactly what that setup looks like. He is not going to take the risk of trying to take down the base too soon. Would rather just fall back and just try and play a more comfortable game altogether. That will be his plan. I'm bringing the Cyclone and the Marines across here, Marine, to try and put in a little bit of pressure. So, Cyclone and the Marines coming over, the medevac flying through that bottom side. Away we go with the drop into the main here very soon. And just going to be seeing our Carapace upgrade starting. Medevac, that's one Marine off, a couple of Queens, just enough to dissuade it from continuing this attempt. It's a very expensive medevac, right? I mean, A, it's your early pressure at the moment, and B, it's got a Cyclone inside. You don't really want to be giving that up early if you don't have to, so isn't going to stick around in the main base against a couple of Queens just in case he doesn't save the medevac, it goes down. He just wants to avoid that situation as best as possible. Now the Banshee's showing up, and, well, Reynor is going to lose 4 drones immediately. So the initial Cloak Banshee attempt is not bad at all. Reynor now attempting to go into missile upgrades as he will continue the Roach Ravager focus in this game. And the Roaches starting on up and getting going. Just going to be seeing the Banshees back up the top side, and they're going to hang out on the front of the third base. Missile upgrades will be halfway through, and Roach speed kicking in as well. Can he make anything of this timing? I mean, if he's going to, he will cut drones now. He's already invested into a 4th base. I mean, it's just such a late 1-1. It's hard to believe he was ever going to be able to just say, oh yeah, I'm just going to run across the map now and take advantage of these 1-1 upgrades. Yeah, he was way off of timing for anything like that, just with how the game's been going, so yeah, I mean, he could maybe press forward and pressure. I tell you what, the creep spread's pretty great. That's the one thing that is, I know it's a smaller map, so obviously it reaches the middle of the map and the other side faster, but I feel like HeroMarine has had, yeah, okay, no Hellions early game, but he has had these Banshees, right? They start to clean up some of that creep now, but I just expected them to have maybe done more creep clearing before this point. So yeah, now they will start to do a little bit of that, and we'll see how much creep remains in a couple minutes if HeroMarine can really start to push that back. Now it does feel fairly essential on this shorter map to just keep the momentum going against the Zerg player to get your attacks properly rolling. And just work on that. She's doing well, picking away at a whole bunch of these drones, so doing pretty well there. I mean, this Roach Ravager army just doesn't stand up to this army at all. Yeah, this early game just wasn't good enough from Reynor, and the Banshees did some good damage, and you can just see that HeroMarine's army will just cleave its way through this. Reynor, again, the attack, it did okay. I think losing some of the workers on the back end really did him in, though. As he loses about 10 drones here, and HeroMarine will step back for a moment. This hatchery's about to die, and I mean, that, if nothing else, resets this to 3 bases against 3 bases, which is always going to be good for the Terran. Percival's still dropping in, the medevac's still taking some damage. We are going to dive through for the Ravages there, and HeroMarine is going to get the tied-up series 1-1 in our semi-final. And that is just a comfortable game for him. Looked a pretty good start through to finish there. Game number 3. Tied up 1-1. Best of 5, of course, winner plays Clem in the finals today. In the top right corner, our red Zerg player from Clash is Reynor. Opening hatch, gas, and pool. No pool first, this time on Glitter and Ashes. His map pick again on a large-ass map. Let's be realistic. As in the bottom left, our blue Terran player from eSports is HeroMarine. He will open with the Reaper to start us out. Let's see where we get to as the Reaper starts to move out across to the upper right-hand side. So off on a journey to the upper corner of the map. That's going to be seeing the couple queens, slings, link speed, all of that coming into play at the moment. The drones in production from Reynor as well, and just going to be having our Reaper coming through. Going to drop a grenade down onto the initial drones. Coming back in, drones still taking some damage. These lings will start moving forward, and they are going to push that Reaper out of here. As the Reaper turns and chases that drone away, so drone taking extra damage also here. Queen, lings going in after the Reaper. Doesn't quite make it there. You do have the factory going to lift off, and it's going to be moving over to the reactor. So factory onto the reactor. Barracks moves itself away to the side as well. Planes are still in production, just seeing link speed about to finish. They do have the Reaper on the top, is moving around a little bit, and just going to be seeing our couple of Hellions about to finish up. Drones and queens, all of this continuing through. The game's going to be pretty passive, especially as you see HeroMarine just going to build a Viking, right? He's going to go Overlord hunting. He's going to have Hellions and pretty much just a fast impact once again to just build straight into that bio game, which there's nothing wrong with at all. It's just, you know, it's not going to be super, like, exhilarating right away. It's going to be pretty laid back, pretty passive between the two players here. As the Viking Marine will get rid of this Overlord. But of course, full scout from Reynor, he immediately sees everything that is happening in the early stages of Glittering Ashes, which is obviously very good news. Obviously, being able to scout that is pretty noteworthy. Liberator as well, so double starport unit here early from HeroMarine. Viking Liberator, again, just clear out Overlords. Liberator can get sieged up in a couple places and harass. And otherwise, just kind of happy to let this play into a macro-focused game on Glitter and Ashes. Big map, of course, and definitely one of the ones the Terrans typically like to try and avoid, so we'll see what HeroMarine's plan will be for it. And a lot of the time in Glitter and Ashes, you feel the Terran players sometimes they just kind of say, right, I'm going to commit to like a crap ton of aggression. Like, I'm going to try and just be as aggressive as possible. And the moment I can be like super aggressive, you know, in that moment I find that possibility, or I find that opening, you know, maybe I can just take the momentum and maybe just run with it from there, despite the map being very large, despite my rally pushes not being as powerful, etc., etc. So, some possibilities, things to think about as we do have Overlords of Reynor. Continuing to the upper right side. Planes in the center are going to get rid of a few more Cryptiums as well. 1-1 upgrades are still building in from HeroMarine. Stimpack is still coming through. And this Liberator is dancing up and down a little bit as well. It's like, we go up, we go down, we go all the way around. Here, there, and everywhere. Having just a little bit of fun with that. Alright, well, Lib does get pushed back in the end by the Spore moving into position. And look at all these drones just not mining. Big mistake from Reynor. That's a massive mistake from Reynor. Every second that passes by is more economy that he's just wasting out on. So yeah, big mistake. A lot of lost mining time for not really much reason at all. And yeah, you can see just where the, you know, the dips where HeroMarine has forced drones to pull away, basically, in this income graph. And obviously that was the most serious one of all, because, like I say, there wasn't even really much reason to have been pulled away for that amount of time. Extractor is going to finish up. The melee upgrades are still continuing through here. The Baneling Nest coming online as well. As we just have the armory coming through. Medivacs load up a whole chunk of Marines as well. The Hellions will continue to move on forward. all of this together. Set up to see what will happen next. Medevacs all the way to that far right-hand side. And start to unload, and a couple of these creep tumors already being picked away at, and that's where HeroMarine will start to just carve himself a pathway to work with. And you want to just create an area that has less creep spread so you can get something done. A couple of drones going down behind this. The Hellions are still poised to the top, but, I mean, there's not really any run-by potential on that top side base. It's still building, so I guess he won't do much with that just yet. But, I mean, taking the position, definitely put himself into a spot to maybe make something happen. As the Lings come running across, the Marines are going to get caught. Hellbats continue to deal some damage. Now the Marines stim up this right-hand side. We're going to be seeing the Queen and the Spore being pushed away. A couple of Banes coming through, and again, these Hellbats will hold off for the moment. The rest of the Lings coming across. The Marines continue to take a lot of hits right now. I'm going to be seeing a couple of Spores and Lings on that right-hand side, and yeah, these Marines and Medevacs still out on the right. We will have a lot of creeps still in the middle of the map, though, and while it's not as far forward as it was on Curious Minds, you got to remember how much of a how much of a larger map this is. It's way larger, so yeah, it's really quite far out there. It's going to be tough for HeroMarine to find openings to attack in on soon. This top left side is probably one of the better ones. That was a big Baneling connection there. You see a lot of the Marines going low, not quite being killed off though. We split, and we split against the mines. Yep, and that one will actually lift up and just back away, as it wasn't going to fire on just one Zergling. And here is HeroMarine once again just working his way through the creep. So the top left is definitely an opening. The bottom right is where he's trying to create more of an opening. As Reynor at the moment is just meeting this and greeting it head on. And doing okay turning it around, but I tell you what, look at the army supply, 93 to 40. I'm starting to worry a little bit that Reynor doesn't quite have the numbers he needs to keep this going. Marines and mines to the top side. The Banes are going to come rolling through. A couple of Widow Mines going to be connected into, and just going to be seen how Marines will continue out to chase these Queens down a little bit. The rest of these Banes coming forward, and HeroMarine going to lift up against it. The problem is this army supply lead that HeroMarine has. This is the issue with Glitter and Ashes. How do you actually turn that into something, right? How do you take that and say, right, from here we do this, this, and this? That part is so difficult, I think. I think that part is really, really tough. Some mines up the right side, gonna pick through a good amount of this creep spread. The mine actually does get picked off there, and the couple of Hydras turning around to chase those Medevacs away. Medevacs just about boosting out of trouble. Get out of there, guys. Bang gonna come back through, and once again just trying to split these Marines off a little bit. Things continue to crash in. A Changeling gets picked off. The Overseer is going to be taken down, and we will press forward with the two Banes crashing through for a few Marines and Hellbats. Again, doing relatively reasonable across the board here. A lot of units on the bottom side from here. Marines still moving around, and it's going to be more Marines and mines that show up, and just going to be seeing a couple of mines aiming towards some of those Lings. A mine on the top side I'm borrowing now, and it's going to start pressing forward a little bit. A lot of this creep spread will get cleaned out. He's gone to the far right side, and those Banelings are going to be in trouble as well. Just going to see the things continue to take some connections, and this army of HeroMarine holding out. Can he make something happen of this? Maxed out on both sides of the map, guys. Lurker not done yet. It's on the way up alongside the Hive. So we're going to be seeing Lurkers with upgrades kicking in about 13 minutes in the game for Seismic Spines. 14 and a half for, you know, the second upgrade, the Adaptive Talons. Assuming he goes in that order as well, obviously range and then speed. Well, that means that HeroMarine has a couple of minutes to really make something happen before needing much more tech being added in. He's going into Libs initially, and then he's adding on the Ghosts. I actually don't mind the Libs first, and I do think the Libs can work well on this map. This map has chokes freaking everywhere. You don't realize it, but one of the things I said about this map initially was that this map was so choke heavy, it kind of made up for it in its size in some ways, and that's definitely true. I think playing into the Liberators first can help a lot against the, well, what will be then the Lurkers soon, but it will play decently against the Hydras initially as well, as they're pretty much always going to be fighting into choke points to get those Liberators and take them down. This was nice from Reynor because he came in from the bottom left-hand side as well, so he created a surround out of this. HeroMarine did well to then use the choke to the bottom right, like I say, lots of chokes, and that ramp to then basically create it into like a one-way attack once again. So credit to HeroMarine, I mean, credit both. They both played a very high-level kind of set of motion there between the two of them. Reynor setting up to do very well. HeroMarine setting up in response to do very well. Now these Marines continue through, and a couple of Lurkers are going to be there, pushing those Marines back. Liberator still set up and holding out on that top side. We do see the adaptive talons, as previously mentioned, being brought into play. And the Bio Army is to the far right and just having a little peek at this Bane Hydra force. This group of Lurkers are going to burrow up as well. Just going to hold up the front. Going forward, we'll see a good amount of Crypt Tumors being picked off as well. And that's one thing to mention, is that really the creep spread is now being really heavily pushed back. And also look how distracted Reynor has perhaps been as well. He did go adaptive talons first, but that's about 13 minutes, and it's going to be about 14. I guess it's still on track for the lurker timings that I mentioned. He just went for it the other way around. Yeah, well, again, and I'll go back to my point of, I just think the creep spread is obviously being held back nicely from HeroMarine. There's only really one forward cluster of creep right now, and it is still kind of fairly central. But it doesn't really hit the right side of the map very nicely, so the right side is pretty barren, and the top left side is very barren. That means there are definitely attack paths in that HeroMarine can utilize. However, right now he's going to have Zerg up in his face. His first ghosts are out, 3 of them are ready, 4 more in production. Is that going to be enough? He will have the support of Liberators as well. 2 of them at the moment, not a huge number, but better than nothing. As he actually comes in from the other side, he'll catch these Lurkers. And wow, the other Lurkers on the top left that were running away are kind of fortunate. They're going to be happy they didn't get jumped on as well. He actually just burrowed those up, and HeroMarine is going to go walking into them, but they weren't on hold position. Doesn't matter, because HeroMarine walks into them so badly. Oh, and that's how you lose the game in an instant. HeroMarine just not paying attention there for a short amount of time, and suddenly the game really does just end in that moment, guys. Like, I mean, that was just way too much to lose. As Reynor keeps the pressure up in the bottom side of the map, keeps these attacks going. Ghosts continue to go down. These Lings still surrounding. Marauders, Ghosts, and all sorts continue to take a ton of damage. That's going to be seeing a couple of Ghosts coming through to try and get rid of maybe a couple of these Lurkers or so. GG from HeroMarine. He's going to tap out of this one, and this is going to be Reynor taking the 2-1 lead. Oh man, it was moments ago. It was so good. He touched on that, you know, the Lurkers in that last game. You know, it feels like kind of insane. It's like, oh, Lurkers just connect and the game ends. But I mean, it works the other way too, right? I mean, you walk your Lurkers into a chunk of Ghosts or mines that you just don't recognize on the map. Boom, boom, boom. They go down, and HeroMarine probably wins the game going across the map himself, right? Like, you know, they're playing at this level where they're both just about hanging on by a thread. And that balancing act that they play in this matchup really kind of, you know, falls to one side over the other very quickly. You know, the moment that falls to one side very quickly, the moment that I mean, that was a major mistake to you, right? It's not like you just slightly missed micro. That's like a horrible mistake. You walk all those Lurkers units into Lurkers. And even then, you kind of double down on it, which, you know, probably may not have mattered at that stage anyway, but then you stimmed the rest of the units and try and kill, and you didn't get anything. So yeah, obviously became pretty disastrous pretty quickly. Very painful. Catch, gas, and pool. Coming up on the top left-hand side, so bringing that into play. Vector and the orbital coming down on the other side of the map from HeroMarine. It's just going to go straight past the Reaper, and then basically you get that reactor up a little bit faster. With a faster reactor, you get access to your first 2 Marines a little quicker. Your factory's also up a little bit sooner in the game because you've not spent 50 gas on a Reaper as well, so overall just speeds up the early game that little bit for you as the Terran, at the cost of not having full information as to what the Zerg is up to, which is obviously a little bit painful and something you don't typically want to be playing with. Hey, what's up, Wizard King? How you doing? Thank you so much for the 17-month resub here. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Hope you're feeling good and doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Couple Marines. I'm gonna pop out and, yeah, very typical 3 racks then. So every time you kind of skip the Reaper and go straight into the reactor, you'll obviously have a higher Marine count. And a couple of things that can point to is sometimes a Hellbat attack, because then you can get up to like 6 Marines and then put the factory on the reactor, and then you have a good amount of Marines to support the Hellbat attack. Or like this, basically, like the 3 racks, because again, you're just going to have a lot more units, because the reactor is up so early in the game, so it makes that first push really quite terrifying. Now, on a smaller map, I do like it a lot for HeroMarine, because I feel like he's putting himself in good positions early and mid-game on the larger maps. Just the size of the map is helping Reynor to overcome a couple of the gaps in his defense and to, you know, get back into it. And I think that's, I mean, obviously, Curious Minds is a very different game with the Roach style, but yeah, I do think that, you know, if the game, you know, say we just played Glitter and Ashes that last game and we do the exact same things here on Berlingrad, and obviously that's not realistic because it's a different map, but if you take that situation and put it on Berlingrad, I think HeroMarine might just win the game at some point, because a lot of his pushes got very far forward, and if they're being reinforced 3 or 4, you know, 3, 4, 5 seconds faster every single time, it is a completely different situation. You have so much more pressure you're applying. Yeah, Reynor needs to really, I mean, if there's ever a time to kind of step your defense up to the next level again, this would be at this map. You do not want to fall behind on Berlingrad, because that is exactly how you lose this game. You go to a game 5, and then you got to probably play on 2K atmospheres, which is not the biggest, but not the smallest map. I'm sure Reynor would like to just get through this and just get himself ready to play against Clem, you know? Now, he has identified what's going on, I believe. The Banal Nest. Well, the 4-minute Banal Nest is actually, I mean, he saw the engineering bay at the front, right? I think that's a tell. The 4-minute Banal Nest is good against the 3 racks because, I mean, it's typically just safe against most things. Bane Nest, then the Lair, because then you've got the Banes up in case of a Hellbat attack as well, for the most part, or at least you've got them on the way when the Hellbats are hitting. And it's the exact same here. You're going to have the Banelings on the way when these Marines are moving across the map, or at least close to it. And that gives you a chance to get some Banes up. You can't really defend this with Link Queen like you would a 2-1-1, because there's just that extra amount of Marines, and there's just that little bit of extra firepower, and Combat Shield makes a big difference in that as well. And as right now, Link Queen is going to be the answer, though, and you can see exactly what I mean. Like, Link Queen just doesn't really defend this, and now you're going to see a bunch of these Queens going down. Reynor will clean this up, but at a pretty serious cost. I mean, this is a good amount of Queens you're killing off here, and he kind of wants to run after this one, I believe. No reason to let that get away, and he might even preserve some of his Marines, which is even better. Obviously, the Lings are kind of uninterested in letting that happen, so as they stream in, they will just get the surround and shut that down. But yeah, no, that was pretty funky. Link comes back to the rest of these Zerglings there. It's just joining up with that. A couple of Evo Chambers coming into play. So both those Evo Chambers coming up. We'll drop a hatchery in on the far left-hand side as well, getting that set up as our Lingers will knock their way through this set of rocks. Opening up this right-hand side up a little bit further and hoping to help out a little bit. Melee upgrade still coming through. Bane speed coming up as well. So all of this setting up. Just going to be seeing our Lings still killing these rocks off. And just opening up this part of the map again. We do have Marines from HeroMarine to the top side. No medevacs with these guys. They are trailing behind. If Reynor was able to jump on these immediately, that would be amazing before the medevacs get here. He's going to see it, and his Morphing Banelings are going to have to cancel, so he's not going to be able to get those set up. And he actually didn't start new Morphing Banelings after canceling. You know, I know he has a few Banes already, but this top position here is one of the annoying ones. This ramp up into that high ground, and obviously HeroMarine just camps up here. Tank hits onto a good part of the low ground, and it supports these Marines pushing down into the hatchery location. So you want to be very careful about it. As these few Banes continue to come through, the couple of Marines loading up into that medevac. Tank goes down, nulling Bane, forcing everything back. And that is going to be a hold for the moment. The Marine is obviously not fully cleaned up, though. I mean, he's still got the Marines here. But nice to get rid of the siege tank early. The sooner you get rid of that, the better you're going to make your... Plain and simple, the easier your life is going to be, right? So, just to remove it a little bit is just going to be seeing these two medevacs. Coming out onto the map, we do see Ling Bane still out in the center, and the two medevacs of HeroMarine heading towards the main base as well. Away they go, as these medevacs unload. Now it's down on the low ground, just in front of the third base, so that gets set up. We're going to scan forward. This creep spread is being picked off. Good amount of creep being denied, and obviously that's kind of essential. Again, shorter maps, so the creepers come across it very quickly. You do not want the Zerg to have creep right up in front of your bases. That gives the Zerg way too much freedom and gives Reynor way too fun. You know, he's going to have a wild time if that's the situation. So, yeah, does not want to let that come into play at all. Still more Marines on the right with the medevacs. Well, Reynor's going to even invest into the burrow, so actually going to try and get some burrowed banelings around the map, and I love that. I always think that it's just such a frustration to, as the Terran, have that one extra thing to be thinking about. It's like you already want to try and just move around and catch the Zerg out of position, make him move as much as possible, but to then have to be so much more cautious about your motion and your movement around the map, I mean, that's really ridiculous, right? That's really crazy. And it's, I do think it's a nice play from Reynor, and it's got other uses outside of the baneling burrows as well, right? Even just a Ling here, blocking a base, etc. Those things can do very well. Reynor kind of realized very quickly that he didn't really want to be involved with that, as he does have a counterattack bottom left side. HeroMarine is pulling back. Does he realize that it's here, or is he just expecting it because Reynor was mostly on the right already? Either way, he is pretty close to being able to deal with this. I think what Reynor is doing is he's waiting to see where HeroMarine's army is, and knowing that he's going to force HeroMarine to pull back a bit before he commits this army in here. That's exactly what he does. The banelings cut the corner off, and they just go straight through to chase the SCVs. 9 workers going down immediately, and, well, this is a massive counterattack. I mean, 11 workers dead. The Marines on the front of the natural were starting to clean up until the Bane's connected in on them. Now these Lings are going to get the siege tank on the ramp as well, and this is not being cleaned up by reinforcements. So now, HeroMarine, the pressure is on to do something across the map with this group of units. Lings are running in initially, and not exactly having the greatest of time. The Queens will be fairly tanky, but will it be enough? Yes, it will. Lings and Banes in the natural and main base of HeroMarine still. He just says it's not going to be able to be recovered. And actually, probably the most convincing game. I guess the game 2 was very convincing in HeroMarine's favor. This was the most convincing game from Reynor so far. And it will send him through to the finals against Clem. Nice bit of ZvT warm-up for him.